Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. A very warm welcome to the July edition of the Suppliers in the Spotlight webinar series for 2025, presented by the Infrastructure Sustainability Council. My name is Andrea Macris and I'm the Head of Engagement here at the IS Council, and I have the very pleasant task of introducing you to 6 businesses who offer products and services across New Zealand that can support the sustainability goals that you have set for your organisation, community or infrastructure project. Some are based in Aotearoa, others are supplying into New Zealand from Australia. Whether you're working on smarter, more sustainable ways to extend the life of the assets that you operate, or you're seeking low carbon alternatives, these suppliers are keen to work with you and collaborate with you for better outcomes. Each of these suppliers is featured in the IS Council's iSupply directory, which for those that are joining us for the first time, is an online marketplace for sustainability-oriented products and services, and it sits on the IS Council's website. For those of you undertaking Innovation Challenge credits as part of your IS Ratings project, engaging with these IS suppliers may support your rating result, as well as sustainability performance and outcomes on your project more broadly. Next slide, please. We're just going to acknowledge country. I'm based here in Australia on the lands of the Bediagal people, but acknowledging traditional custodians wherever it is that you may be joining this call from today. A brief look at for the agenda for our time together today. We're firstly going to be hearing from Mutu with Ben Redwood. Then we'll be moving on to Vital Chemical with Tom Remington, over to Te Uru Tangata with Maritha Smith. And then we'll have a little Q&A with the first 3 presenters, so you'll have an opportunity there to ask some questions, which I definitely encourage you to do. Then we'll be hearing from Paul Curtis at Site Hive, over to Israel McDonald from Pacific Steel, and then finally Tony Costa at SCADA. Following the webinar, you'll be able to access a recording, all the contact information of all the speakers, and any unanswered questions in the Q&A will be addressed in writing. So while you are more than welcome to take notes, we've got you covered. As you're listening to each of the businesses during their allocated 4-minute presentation time, please pop your questions in the Q&A widget. If you can avoid using the chat, if you can, that'd be great. I'll be drawing on a selection of your questions during the Q&A, so please do pop them through as they occur to you. Others might have the same questions, so don't be shy. This webinar is a snappy 45-minute webinar, an online session, so stay with us right through to the end and take full advantage of this opportunity to become familiar with some new ideas and better alternatives for your projects and your business. Without further ado, I would now like to hand over to Ben Redwood from Mutu. Thanks, Ben.
Kia ora everyone, ko Ben Tokuwangwa. I am the CEO and founder of Mutu, and we are a tech company that works with main contractors around Australia and New Zealand to help them keep valuable materials out of landfill. Next slide, please. So one kind of statement that I love hearing is this, and we find this is quite consistent with contractors all across New Zealand and Australia. Our yard is full of valuable materials, but no one in our company knows what's there. So one of the first questions we ask businesses when we start working with them is, what happens to materials at the end of your projects? And on Mutu, we've got a really cool app which basically follows what we call the 3 R's of Mutu. So the first R you can see here is reveal. And anytime someone on a site or has surplus materials, or they are returned back to a yard, you can open up the Mutu app and in about 30 seconds create a listing for that item. We collect information around how much it weighs, how much it's worth, what material it's made of, and all this information is fed into Mutu and creates a listing. And this is revealing what exists within your business. So really making these items visible to everybody. Next slide, please. So the next R of Mutu is about reuse. So once these items are kind of listed and we have this inventory, we're focusing on making them really accessible for staff no matter where they are. So they can open up their phones, and before making a procurement decision, they can type in what they're looking for. And if it exists within the business, Mutu will show it to them. It'll show them how far away it is, and they can easily claim it. Once they've hit that claim button, we connect them with the person in the business who created that original listing, and they can call them and arrange pickup or delivery to get the items out to their site. Next slide, please. And the final part of Mutu, and this is really the core reason that organizations sign up, is reporting. So on our dashboard, we show listings over time, transactions that have occurred over time, how much money businesses are saving by reusing materials and not buying them new, the weight of items kept out of landfill, disposal costs saved, and we can convert all that into CO2 emissions. All of this can be filtered by individuals, by timelines, by projects. And then we package it all into a really cool one-page sustainability report, which basically shows the impact that Mutu is having across the business, and introduces us as a site waste minimization tool. And for the contractors that we work with, this is what they're putting into the tenders to be able to essentially help them win more work or meet climate requirements like ISC on the projects they work on. Here's a snapshot of some of the businesses we work with, basically anybody down to kind of 10, 15 man sized operations right up to the downers of the world. And yeah, if you've got multiple sites, you've got a lack of visibility of what exists within the business and you're looking for carbon reporting, we can help. Next slide, please. So what have we done so far? We've just kept 3,000 tonnes. I just checked our dashboard. We've gone 1,000 tonnes in the last month of materials out of landfill. We've saved the companies that are using Mutu just under $3 million in procurement costs and about $1 million in disposal. And we've just passed 500 tonnes of CO2 emissions redirected from landfill. So the key thing that we're trying to do with Mutu is show that not only can you be sustainable within your businesses, but you can also save money and be smarter with your procurement at the same time. Last slide, please. If you want to check us out, just jump over to mutu.co.nz or find us on the iSupply directory. We'd love to have a chat. Thank you very much.
Brilliant, as always. Thank you, Ben. I could listen about Mutu for ages. I just love the business idea, and I think it's a fabulous platform. So thank you.
Thanks, Andrea. I'll send you a bottle of wine later.
There are no kickbacks, but do check it out. It's a great platform. Over to another fabulous organisation, Vital Chemical, have been proud and wonderful friends of the ISC for many years. So over to Tom Remington at Vital Chemical. Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Andrea. Hi, everyone. My name's Tom from Vital Chemical. We are a manufacturer of environmental solutions, and we have a strong network of distributors throughout Australia and also in New Zealand. So one in Auckland and one in Queenstown on the South Island. Next slide, please. So we manufacture solutions tailored to serving erosion control, dust suppression, revegetation, water treatment, concrete removal, and heat exchange corrosion inhibitors. So in that first area, the erosion control and dust suppression, just not next slide just yet. So the first bit, erosion control, dust suppression, we have a range of polymer sprays. So they encapsulate areas of exposed soil to prevent sediment runoff and blow off. In revegetation, we have a range of hydromulches to revegetate construction sites and projects. We were also awarded carbon credits for one of our products in the revegetation space, which incorporates biochar, so sequestering carbon. And the water treatment sector is what I'm going to focus more specifically on today. Next slide, please. So the product that I'm going to take a bit of a dive into is Vital Super Clear Extra. So this is one of 3 of our water treatment products. The first one is Vital Eco Super Floc, which is a flocculant. Then we have Vital Super Clear, which is a coagulant, and then Vital Super Clear Extra, which we recently developed in the past few years, which is a blend of a flocculant and a coagulant. So the benefit of Vital Super Clear Extra is that it's highly versatile, so it can be used on a wide array of basin types. And in our sense, water treatment is treating construction water in sediment basins. So it's very versatile, can be used on a wide range of pH types and particle charges within these basins. And it's also highly efficient. So you only need a small amount of product to treat a really large volume of water. And then as you can see, the iSupply credits are listed there. So you can achieve these iSupply credits by using the Vital Super Clear Extra on your project. Next slide, please. So we developed this one a few years ago on the Western Sydney Airport construction, mainly because they were doing such vast quantities of earthworks and had just an amount of requirement for water treatment that we hadn't seen before. So they needed a product that was highly efficient and could work on all sediment basins throughout the site. So that's really why we were pushed to develop this product. So this, being a blend of a flocculant and a coagulant, is the only type in that space in the world, and it was an Australia first innovation. So it's used on those sediment basins on construction sites, treating that water before it gets released into local environments. So at a high level, the product keeps water clean when it enters local environments. Next slide, please. So we've been long-time members of the ISC, and also almost all of our products are now listed on iSupply as well. So everything from the dust suppression, the erosion control, through to the water treatment, the revegetation, and also one of our concrete truck washers. So all of these products, when they're used by clients on site, they receive those iSupply accreditations. Next slide. Thank you very much. I'm happy to answer any questions after this as well.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Tom. Really, really appreciate that. We're now going to move on to something a little bit different. We'll be hearing from Maritha Smith, the Chief Executive Officer at Te Uru Tangata Centre for Workplace Inclusion. Thank you, Maritha.
Thank you very much. Kia ora koutou, ko Maritha Smith toka ingoa, and I'm the Chief Executive of Te Uru Tangata, the Centre for Workplace Inclusion. Many of you may have known us as Diversity Works New Zealand, and for many reasons over the past year, we've had to go through quite a big transition, but that's also helped us to reclaim some of the purpose and the deeper purpose of the work that we are doing. So you will know in recent years that the conversation around inclusion and particularly diversity has sometimes been hijacked, and it's been pulled into polarizing spaces that make leaders hesitate about what to do and how to do it. So inclusion, we believe at its heart, is not about activism and it's not about identity politics. It's about organization culture and the leadership work, and it's becoming more important than ever. So really great to be with you today to reintroduce ourselves. And in terms of our services, we offer 3 distinct service streams. Through our membership model, we support internal diversity, equity, inclusion practitioners. We give them tools, guidance, and a national peer network that they can connect into with. We then also offer training and consulting services, which is practical and strategic, tailored to building the kind of culture where people want to stay and choose to contribute. We have, for instance, for senior leaders, we've got a board and executive program, which is a series of curated conversations that help leaders to calibrate their thinking on inclusion in today's very polarized environment. And finally, we offer a practitioner accreditation, which is a structured pathway that not only builds the internal capability and confidence in organizations, but it also sets quite clear standards around inclusive behaviors and practices, and it helps create a professional community that helps to keep practitioners safe, but also organizations safe by grounding the work in evidence and in accountability. So next slide, please. Workplace inclusion, without doubt for us, is a cornerstone of social sustainability, which is a key pillar in the IS rating framework. And that speaks directly to stakeholder cohesion, because the ability to work across difference, especially when we've got these stressed systems that we are working within at the moment. It helps with talent retention and innovation, because when you've got diverse and well-supported teams, you have better problem solving and they stay longer. And increasingly around ESG performance, inclusion metrics are becoming really central to responsible investment and to risk management. Next slide, please. So what I'd like to leave you with is this, that the world, you will know, is much more geopolitically unstable than it's been in half a century. From armed conflict and climate displacement, social unrest, digital misinformation. The ripple effects of that are being felt within our organizations and within our workplaces. And businesses are recognizing that stability must come and be cultivated from within. So in short, diversity and inclusion isn't just an HR nice to have. Workplaces are one of these last common grounds that we have where cohesion can be actively cultivated. It is, in fact, just the operating condition for sustainable performance for organizations. So we aim to support our members and to lead that work with clarity and culture and courage for organizations. So where you can get hold of us, we work with more than 600 organizations across the Motu, and we'd love to connect with all of you. So if you're a leader needing support, a project team wanting to lift your social outcomes, or an executive leader looking to stabilize your culture, we're here to support you. You can connect with us through our website, info@workplaceinclusion.org.nz, or via the ISC directory. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you, Maritha. If you want to just keep your camera and microphone on, and then I'll invite Tom and Ben to join us back in the conversation for a little bit of a Q&A. And I've noticed there aren't any questions from our attendees. So please, if you have any questions for our first three presenters, pop them into the Q&A widget. Otherwise, I'm going to dominate the time, which I'm very happy to do. So firstly, I'm curious, Maritha, what led to the rebrand of Diversity Works?
Oh, Diversity Works used to be a public-private partnership between government and the Employers Federation, and government has decided last year with the coalition government that they wanted to step away from that partnership. So haven't appointed any trustees to the organizations, which meant that our governance structure became unsustainable, which is why we had to shift. It was really quite devastating when it happened, but like I said, it gave us opportunities to rethink how we show up in the current environment without having the constraints around what a government partnership might have been in the past.
Yeah, sure. Fantastic. And I might stick with you for my next question, which is for those that are listening and really investing in social procurement, what does good look like? What are the kind of key things that you recommend when you're working with projects, particularly in the infrastructure sector?
Well, what we would recommend is for organizations to really look wide in terms of who those potential partners could be. We are all busy people, and we tend to work with partners that we know and have worked with in the past. But one can have better and more innovative outcomes by broadening the gates. And that is really what we are talking about. What does broadening the gates look like so that we could potentially bring more diversity into the way we are looking at our business problems? We are not expecting anybody to, this is not about lowering barriers or lowering standards. This is in fact quite the opposite. How can we increase a merit-based appointment by looking at a wider pool of organizations that can help us with solving our problems?
Great, thank you. Fantastic. Over to you, Tom. You focused on a water treatment product or solution today. I'm just curious, is there a reason you thought for the New Zealand market in particular that this particular solution would be of interest? Anything about New Zealand?
Yeah. Well, with the Super Clear Extra product, I thought it would be good to bring up in the New Zealand context because we know it is a concern of some stakeholders in New Zealand about the aluminium content of some of the water treatment products. And I suppose some of the benefits with Super Clear Extra is that it reduces the content of the aluminium as it's both a biodegradable flocculant and has the ACH component. But with our products, even when we are using our straight coagulant, which is an ACH, so aluminium-based product, we have a very large extent of environmental testing. So that's going to prove that it's not hazardous and not toxic in any way, shape or form. As we know, there are some competitors out there that do some sort of irresponsible things in that space, but ours is quite different, being ACH and quite nuanced. So it has a large extent of environmental testing that sort of separates us from some competitors in that space.
Cool. And is this something you can do on site anywhere across New Zealand at the moment? Are there areas that you can't get to?
Yeah, anywhere in New Zealand. We have stock in on the South Island and on the North Island, so we can service anywhere in New Zealand. It's predominantly construction sites that take this product, but then there's also some niche uses for it, like treating golf ponds or mine wastewater. So there is some odd uses for it as well, but we can service any construction site across New Zealand.
Excellent. And it looks like in the chat you've got a question from Nishant, who's also one of our member organisations over in WA. So I'll let you guys pick that conversation up after the webinar, and I'll head over to Bennett Mutu. I don't know if I've heard this story from you before, Ben, but you're the founder of this platform. So could you give us some background of what led you to create what were you hearing in the market? What were you experiencing where you thought, okay, this is a gap that needs to be filled?
Well, we're originally founded as a platform for any type of organisation to share resources. So it wasn't just focusing in the construction sector. It was councils, healthcare, education, and just essentially creating visibility between multi-site businesses that don't know what each other have. But as we have grown, it's just become more and more obvious that there are a lot of external pressures on contractors to be more sustainable compared to some of the other kind of sectors we were working with. And they need this data to position themselves to win work or meet these requirements like the ISK rating on site. So we just saw that was where the opportunity was. On top of that, I'm a dad of 2 young boys, and I get a lot of purpose out of doing this. It really motivates me and gives me a lot of energy to try and solve these problems within the sector. Oh, I think you're muted, Andrea.
Oopsie. Just another question come through around what's the kind of payment structure for Mutu? Is it a monthly subscription?
Yep, we keep things really simple. So it's just a flat rate, unlimited users, and just a monthly subscription cost. And that usually just varies based on total number of staff within your business or total number of sites.
Brilliant. Okay, we've got one more for Tom. Over to you. Has Supplier Extra been used in NZ yet? And has it been used through the rainfall activated dosing systems we currently use in the construction industry? So you've mentioned aluminium concentration. What is the reduction? So that's sitting in the chat. So
yes. Yeah, of course. Thank you. So it has been used in New Zealand, and it can be used through the rainfall activated dosing systems. That's the usual method of application here in Australia. And the reduction in ACH aluminium concentration is by 50%.
Brilliant. Well, you had that answer ready to go. Well done. Excellent. Okay, well, thank you to our first 3. Do stay on the call if you can, because sometimes more questions do pop through during the next 3. So I just
have to shoot. Sorry, Andrew. I'm actually at a conference and I'm about to present on stage, so I have to
worries.
run to my next one. But any questions or anything, please feel free to reach out. Or Andrew's got my details; she can pass them on as well.
Thank you for joining us, Ben.
Thanks, everyone. Ka kite. Bye.
And please do stay with us for the next 3 amazing presenters. The first of which is Paul Curtis from Site Hive. Take it away, Paul. Thank you.
Thank you. So first slide, please. So Site Hive provide devices and software for environmental monitoring of noise, dust and vibration on construction sites and infrastructure projects. And we operate on a subscription model. Next slide, please. So these are our sexy beasts. These are what we call our hexanodes. We have 2 main devices, our hexanode noise and dust device, which is the one on the far left. The bottom section there is the dust monitor, and the top section that looks like a golf ball is the noise monitor. And in the middle on the right-hand side, you'll see a little dimple, and that's actually a camera. And I have a camera on both sides of the case. The noise plus dust device can be deployed as 2 separate devices. So we can deploy it as a standalone noise device and a standalone dust device. And on the right-hand side, we have our hexanode vibration device, which detects for vibration on construction sites, which is likely to cause, say, distress to human comfort, in other words, annoy your neighbours, or damage to structural buildings. And typically they're out in the open, they are powered by a solar panel and a lead acid battery. Next slide, please. So our devices natively integrate with our Enviro and Enviro Pro software. Now, software essentially is your eyes and ears across your construction site. It provides real-time data showing your dust and sound levels, noise levels, a direction of arrival of noise and dust, so you know whether that's coming from inside your site or outside your site, and it shows vibration intensity at your various monitoring points. It captures images and audio, which can be replayed, and it's able to create high quality PDF reports instantly so that you can report to stakeholders, as well as provide internal reports and monthly management reports. And it also comes with a really handy app, which a lot of the time when environmental managers are using our software, it's out on site, and so the app is a great way of them recording data instantly on site. Next slide, please. So in terms of relevance to ISC rating, we really help across sort of 4 main parameters. So our devices and software enable environment managers to implement and monitor mitigation measures across noise, dust and vibration, implement real-time monitoring and public reporting, prove there are no major exceedances of noise, dust and vibration goals, and regularly engage with stakeholders and consider their feedback. Next slide, please. Our devices have been used across a number of high-profile projects across New Zealand. So, for example, McConnell Dowell have used our noise and dust device at Auckland City Hospital as part of the tunnel and construction works that were going on for about 2 or 3 years. Hawkins are using our device at Middlemore Hospital, where they are building the Harley Gray radiology ward. Our vibration devices are being used on or deployed on a number of heritage buildings in Queen Street in Auckland to monitor for vibration coming about from Watercare's tunnelling and boring works, which are going on underneath Queen Street. Our noise and dust and vibration devices are being deployed at the Tariko Enabling Works, which is a major highway for Downer in Bay of Plenty, and noise devices being deployed at Eastland Port, where it's listening for detecting and monitoring noises coming from basically like containers, so bangs and crashes from containers, but also there's an adjacent log yard. So next slide, please. So thank you. I'm actually based in Auckland, so if anybody wants any further information, would like to meet up for a coffee, then those are my contact details.
Excellent. Thank you, Paul. Wonderful. Look forward to having a chat in a few moments' time. But before that, we're going to hear from 2 more presenters. So do keep those questions coming through. Thank you. Over to you, Israel McDonald, Sustainability and Market Development Manager for Pacific Steel.
Perfect. Kia ora koutou. I'm Israel, and Market Sustainability Manager for Pacific Steel and New Zealand Steel. And on the first slide, you'll see who we are. So New Zealand Steel is the only manufacturer of steel products in New Zealand, making it out of iron, sand and other raw materials, the iron, sand on the West Coast. And Pacific Steel, again, the only longs products, only reinforcing bar manufacturer in New Zealand, uses materials. Part of BlueScope Steel, based out of Australia with a couple of mills around the place and a lot of high technology and coated steel products. So on the next slide, you'll see the products that come out of Pacific Steel. For those might be familiar with the Pacific Steel brand, we make reinforcing bar, so you think 12 to 40 mil type bar in the form of bar and coil, and we also make mesh feed. And so when we're thinking about mesh feed and some of the bar, we're trying to meet those high quality standards, the earthquake grade, obviously suitable for the New Zealand environment. So the next slide, you'll see the process of where we are today. So today it is made out of raw materials. It uses the unique material out of the West Coast, our iron, sand and coal that goes into an iron making process. Again, unique to the process here in New Zealand. That's the iron making phase, and then goes into steel making, where you correct the chemistry, get the right grades, and then you cast it into billets and slab, which further get processed. In this case, billet gets rolled into your reinforcing product. So this is where we are today. On the next slide, you'll see the electrification process is the installation of an electric arc furnace. This is a huge change for us. The organisation's been around for 60 years. It's our birthday this year, in fact. And this EAF completely changes the way we make steel. It's going to halve the amount of iron making that we need to do. So it halves the amount of coal, half the amount of raw materials going into it. And instead we start using post-consumer and post-industrial scrap. So you think scrap out of buildings, scrap out of whiteware, cars. Rather than setting offshore, we can repurpose it using New Zealand's highly renewable grid, using electricity to help melt down the steel, and use a portion of iron into the mix to produce these products here on out. So on the next slide, you'll see there's a huge array of huge sustainability benefits to not just our business and our products, but the wider built environment. So it's an over 50% reduction in emissions. It's going to be up to 1 million tonnes of CO2 removed every year. That's equivalent to 300,000 cars off the road permanently. And again, using our highly renewable grid. And if we think in terms of power, it's using more electrical power, but there is a PPA in place in which we have to turn down during periods of high demand. So in fact, it also adds to the resilience of New Zealand's grid. So in the next slide, you'll see the products that come through. Our reinforcing bar will be part of 2 different blends. You'll see a new iron, sand and scrap blend of 1.89 tonnes per tonne of CO2 per tonne of steel. And then there'll be the 100% scrap blend, the brand new, very low emission offer of 0.485 that will become one of the lowest, if not the lowest landed reinforcing product in terms of emissions available in New Zealand. And so when you think about your ISC project, this really ties into the benefits around not only your local supply chain, economic outcomes, and obviously a sustainable procurement strategy with your suppliers, but obviously the embodied carbon reductions in your project. This is an example of a non-residential build. So when thinking of infrastructure, obviously the more sort of concrete and reinforcing use, the bigger the impact. But this is a bit of a model of 2 types of non-residential builds, where not only the reinforcing, but overall steel impact in terms of carbon reduced by 77%, and the overall impact on the build by 26%. So this is going to impact every single project using steel in New Zealand come 2026, early 2026, when the product starts hitting the market once the EAF is up and running. On the next slide, you'll see it's not just reinforcing. There's a wide array of steel products that are going to be impacted by this. Some you might be more familiar with. But when we think in terms of heavy structural, there'll be a bit of Steltec, there'll be a bit of welded beams, and obviously Pacific Steel reinforcing will be the key one. So on the last slide, for a bit more information, obviously get in touch. I'm Auckland-based, but we'll get around the place in New Zealand, reach out by email or see the Pacific Steel website.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Israel. Really appreciate your great presentation and look forward to having a chat straight after our final presenter for today, who is Tony Costa, Chief Executive Officer from SCADA Environmental and Sustainability. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you for the opportunity. So yeah, my name is Tony Costa. I have the privilege of serving as the CEO of SCADA Environmental and Sustainability. The earlier presentations have been outstanding, so thank you. Our value proposition within the IC community, however, is not products or technology. It's people, consulting, sustainability and service. We deliver the expert consulting services, including the boots on the ground that help the ISC rated projects deliver measurable, credible, sustainable outcomes. At SCADA Environmental and Sustainability, we position ourselves as a critical enabler of sustainability outcomes, which are essential for achieving and maximising the ISC credits. So our why is deeply rooted in all things people, planet and community. We look beyond profitability and believe businesses can seamlessly balance that profit and purpose, making a significant impact on the global landscape. Hence why we've been drawn to contribute to the IC community and the broader sustainability movement within the infrastructure projects. Next slide, please. So given this, we feel our mission and vision statements have a strong alignment to the purpose and direction of the Infrastructure Sustainability Council and the IC rating outcomes within the infrastructure sector. So appreciating and understanding that this is through partnership and collaboration efforts that sustainable outcomes and positive legacy for people, planet and community are achieved. Next slide, please. Yeah, look, our values speak to this, but conscious of time. Next slide, please. So there are 3 main service delivery arms to SCADA. Firstly is our environmental services. So we specialise in providing comprehensive environmental services across the lifespan of a project, from early planning, on-site delivery to ongoing compliance and recording. Our services cover vast requirements within land, so soil, including contamination, classification, revegetation, etc. Air, so dust and fumes, water, planning, including integrated water management, reuse, discharge, water testing, water treatment, waste and compliance, part of that tracking, reducing, reusing with a sustainable circular strategies, client side, etc. And the erosion sedimentary controls, being experts in that soil and water preservation, partnering with industry experts like the vital chemicals, as we heard earlier from Tom, ESC plans, bringing new products and technologies into that space. Next slide, please. The occupational hygiene. So if you think everything asbestos, mold, dust, particulates, air, noise, vibration, water damage. So from an infrastructure project perspective, really we find that intersection of environmental and occupational hygiene services are really relevant and critical. Things like unexpected fines with asbestos and then ongoing compliance and reporting, as we heard a little bit earlier with the technologies that are out there as well to support that. Worth noting that we also have our own NADA accredited laboratory in-house. Next slide, please. So locally, we support small to medium-sized businesses in their awareness and their planning and their development of ESG-related growth. So whilst this is not directly required within an IC-rated project as a service offering, what it does highlight is our commitment and value that we place towards the capacity building in industry for those contractors and businesses that maybe are not required to manage a report, not directly engaged in large projects, but have an ability to contribute to that positive people, planet, community outcomes in the work that they do within the supply chain. Next slide, please. And obviously, as we can see, this aligns very closely to the framework that the IC rating's built upon. Next slide, please. We work across the entire IC framework. So some specific examples, for example, within the water credits, we look to develop integrated water management strategies, design and implement the strong ESC, suggest and implement nature-based solutions when we can, partnering with industries to bring the right solution and technology to the job, right the way through to managing discharge requirements and meeting some of those more intricate requirements around the accepting waterways with the pH levels and the flow, really being that client-side support and bringing products like the product Tom mentioned earlier. So supporting from a soil and contamination assessment, promoting responsible material reuse, and that might be including soil remediation and reclassification, liaising with the appropriate authorities and EPA, looking really to protect that soil, minimise landfill and remove unnecessary emissions. Next slide, please. So what is it that we do? We aim to create positive environmental outcomes and reduce the risk to the client and the project. We know that we deliver a significant amount of the environmental work and support required on a large project, and some of which is often included in the civil contractors package, who sometimes have little to no understanding of or expertise in that area. So in short, we look to empower our clients and solve challenges. So if your project is chasing IC credits and needs environmental or sustainability expertise with substance, I'd love to talk. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Tony. Please do keep your camera on, stay with us, keep your mic on, and I'd like to invite our most recent all three of the most recent presenters to jump back on the call for some questions. If anybody from our audience has any, please pop them in the chat or the widget. I've got a few myself, so I'm going to kick us off, and I'll start with you, Tony, seeing as you've most recently presented. You're obviously based in Australia, so you're a Victorian-based business and a Victorian-based team. I think you'll be moving into New Zealand as a new market. Is that right? So do you have a team in New Zealand? Are you growing a team in New Zealand yet? Have you kind of kicked off yet, or is this a new adventure?
Yeah, no, look, thanks, Andrea. Yeah, so we're predominantly, the business is Victorian-based, but yeah, we have landed in New Zealand in the North Island. We have 2 staff members in Hamilton that have been there since late last year. So just, yeah, growing and slowly working into that market. So yeah, the short is both. We're there and we're looking to continue to grow. Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you. And what would you anticipate would be the kind of, I guess, key differences in terms of the types of work that you do or you're anticipating to be doing in New Zealand versus what you've done in the past here in Australia?
Look, it's an interesting question, but probably not a lot of difference other than one of the things that we struggle with particularly in Victoria is the lack of sort of regulatory push and then the industry care for the work that we do. And one of the things we really value and what we've seen in New Zealand is that you are a long way ahead with a lot of that, with on a local level and community and people and care for environment. So, yeah, I think valuing what we do versus it being seen as a niggle in the side in a project is we're certainly finding that in the early steps.
Great. Yeah. Thank you. Excellent. Well, all best of luck in growing and your journey ahead.
Thank you.
Back over to you, Israel, and thank you for your presentation. It's really interesting to see the evolution of steel, and obviously green steel is a very hot topic right across Australia, the Pacific, the Asian region, and the world. So excellent to see locally manufactured products as well. I presume there are EPDs available for the products that you were talking about today. Do you supply right across the Pacific, or in terms of the demand for that particular product, or is it New Zealand only? What are you sort of seeing?
Yeah, so first on the EPDs, we are producing EPDs for product not yet on the market. So EAF under construction, it'll be operating and supplying steel kind of Q1, Q2 next year. We have verified numbers, what I shared today, and EPDs will be published in the next 2 weeks. So look out for those on EPD Australasia. In terms of supply, we do focus on the local market, but we do also export. So I guess probably previously it would have been New Zealand, a bit of export to Australia. I think, like you alluded to, with the increased focus on low embodied carbon products, I can expect as this message gets out there that there will be a fair bit of interest in it. So yeah, definitely open to exporting. And right now we sort of manufacture ASNZS 4671, so that's for Australia and New Zealand standards, and I think some of the Pacific Islands take that standard on too. Excellent.
And of course, with projects that are higher in capex, larger projects, and have sustainability as kind of key priorities, they're able to invest in new products and potentially pay more where that necessary. There is a perception, of course, that sustainability costs money. I guess I wanted to ask you, is this sort of technology or these sort of products at this point in time accessible to smaller projects, medium-sized projects? Is that a big and growing market for you, or is it still kind of a bit of a way away?
Yeah, it's really hard to tell the growth rate, and I think perhaps what it does rely on are rating schemes. So I think if you think Green Steel, ISC are very particular at helping drive this change. And so I think the 100% scrap base, we can't supply our entire range, or a whole 650,000 tonnes. So it will be project specific. So I do really think when you're thinking about these projects, know that it's available and that our offer is targeted at these kind of projects. So again, like with those trying to hit ISC ratings, big and small, I think really the focus is if you want to achieve these really low emission targets and the purpose is to drive decarbonisation, that's where we see, and that's where some of that premium plays into it, that you are helping to make the change. And this is an example of that, trying to meet the upcoming change.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Thank you. And I'm going to squeeze one last question in for Paul. I'd love you to just give us a bit of an overview of the products that you are targeting towards operations and maintenance types projects versus construction. Are they kind of the same products, or is there a different line for each? What do you tend to recommend for your customers?
Our devices can be used, they're really originally designed for use on, we had it in mind when they were designed and developed so that they'll be deployed on infrastructure projects, roading projects, construction projects, vertical builds and so on. And that's still our core market. So, you'll mostly see our devices right out in the middle of nowhere, which is, on a new roading project where connectivity can be an issue. So our devices operate with a SIM card. It's like a SIM card, and the data gets uploaded from the device about every 15 minutes up into the software. So a lot of the devices out on the market, they're handheld. You have to be on site at that time, or the device has a little card that you have to go and pull out and download the data. and if they're in remote areas, that can be a real pain. So our devices are really designed to be often, set and forget, but they're also small and mobile enough that they can be, particularly on a roading project, that they can be moved down as the project progresses. But we're also finding new sort of ways of using the products just from requests that we're getting. So, even in a factory setting, so the devices can be used equally indoors as they can outdoors. So, for example, in a factory setting, you might want to be monitoring for noise, and you might want to be monitoring for dust levels for your occupational safety and health reasons. And they can absolutely be deployed indoors. Dust is dust and noise is noise. So rather than just being powered by a solar panel, lead acid battery, they just get plugged into a power socket on the wall. So there's we're finding sort of all sorts of new different ways that our devices can be used, outside of the sort of traditional construction and infrastructure.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, thank you so much. Well, a very big thank you to all 6 iSupply businesses who presented for us in today's Spotlight on the Supplier webinar. And an even bigger thank you to you, the audience, for your attendance and your attention. Please spread the word to your colleagues for future sessions so we can continue to drive support for these great businesses that are helping to build sustainable supply chains. As you exit today's session, please do scan the QR code on the screen and give us a little bit of feedback. We'd love to receive your feedback and let us know how we're going. There's also going to be an email, so you can do the survey that way if you prefer. We very much look forward to seeing you again in a couple of months for the next edition of Suppliers in the Spotlight with the ISC. And until then, please stay well and keep up the good fight. Kia ora and good afternoon.